Here we have verse 40 of the 7th chapter of the Gospel of John. We are in the midst of a conversation John is giving us, reporting what was taking place on the last day of the Feast of Tabernacles when Jesus stood up in the temple precincts and cried out that if anyone was really thirsty, rather than seeking after this water that was being prominently displayed on the last day of the feast, they should come to him. And of course, Jesus' assertion is that if they come to him in faith, that he will provide to them the water that will render them such that they'll never thirst again. Something like what he said to the woman at the well back in chapter 4. Well, of course, the response of the crowd is somewhat divided, and of course the religious leaders are, as a rule, taking a hostile response to Jesus, but there are some who believe, and John gives us some indication of that as we come now to this verse 40. Ek, preposition, takes the genitive. It means out of, as in our word exit, which derives from that preposition. Here is the genitive, so ek tu, the masculine singular genitive of preposition or article, and then oklu, the crowd, again the masculine singular genitive. So out of the crowd, un, postpositive, therefore, akusantes, this is the nominative plural, masculine, and it's from akuo, to hear. This is the aorist participle, so we render it having heard. So out of the crowd, having heard, tone logon. The word akuo can take the genitive here, so that's why it functions as the object of that verb. So having heard the words. So out of the crowd, having heard the words, to tone, and that is the demonstrative pronoun that goes along with the word. So having heard these words, elegon, from lego, I say. This is the third person plural, imperfect active indicative. They were saying. So they were saying, out of the crowd, having heard these words, they were saying. The subject of the verb there, they, is left rather undefined, so it's sometimes rendered some or many or that sort of thing out of the crowd, but of course it remains an undefined term, so they, we would say, out of the crowd, having heard these words, were saying, hutos, demonstrative pronoun, masculine singular nominative, this one, estin, from ami, I am. This one is alethos, indeclinable adverb. This one is truly ho prophetes, undoubtedly referring back to the prophet that was prophesied by Moses, of course, centuries earlier, that God would raise up a prophet from among them, something like Moses himself, as it turns out, infinitely superior to Moses, but nevertheless the prediction was there. And the point John is driving at is that many in the crowd, hearing what Jesus was saying, and of course otherwise being aware of the remarkable history that was accompanying him, are finally reaching the conclusion that this must be the one that Moses had predicted. This is the one that is the prophet who would come. The evidence was such that that must be the case, and now the declarations Jesus makes concerning himself leave them with little doubt as to the truth of that proposition.